Take a slow, full breath in and let it fall gently out. Feel the space between your thoughts, the quiet corridor where awareness hums. Here, in this stillness, Spirit speaks in symbol and silence. This is the holy place within, the chamber between seen and unseen, where the mind becomes the bridge between worlds. Welcome, beloved one, to From the Garden Sacred Talks. You are not alone in this remembering. There is a presence here with you, breathing through the quiet between thoughts, moving with the rhythm of attention, listening with care to the mind's subtle whispers. Today, we step into the holy place, the inner chamber of the mind, where awareness and spirit meet, and perception becomes devotion. This is not a space of judgment, nor a place to control thought. It is a space of tending, where insight can emerge, where symbols speak, and where the mind becomes a temple. These words are not instruction, they are an invitation to enter gently, to tend the lamp, remember the bread, and follow the incense rising within. Here, the journey continues, from body to mind, from outer court to holy place, from attention to awareness, from thought to sacred understanding. The psychic world, what we call the bridge, is not a separate place. It is the living overlap of spirit and body, where mind becomes the interpreter of all things. If the body is the temple that grounds spirit in form, then the mind is the holy place, the chamber of illumination and understanding, where awareness meets mystery and perception becomes devotion. Here, visions arise, intuition speaks, dreams guide, and symbols hold living power. This world is fluid, multidimensional, often misunderstood, but real as music, as memory, as metaphor. The bridge world is where your soul whispers and your senses listen. There are moments when reason and intuition stand side by side, when the mind asks for logic, but spirit asks for trust. I remember one afternoon after having a beautiful lunch with my family, my mother and I decided to walk into this African shop next door just to see what they were selling. We were a bit curious, so we decided to go ahead and go in. And the moment we stepped inside, I remember something in me froze. I stopped dead in my tracks. I didn't know why, but it felt like I walked into a mirror. It was familiar, yet something was off. There was a deep unease that stirred in my spirit. I immediately looked at my mom, and she looked right back at me. We didn't need to say anything to each other. We just turned and quietly walked out. Now, it didn't make any kind of logical sense to me. It was just a shop filled with drums, incense. I think there were some crystals and other supplies, and colors that really should have felt like home. But the both of us had felt it, that subtle inner no. It was later on that I realized the moment wasn't really about fear, it was about discernment. It taught me that sometimes spirit speaks through instincts, not intellect. It's the quiet nudge that says, not here, without giving a reason. I've had several other instances like this where spirit just quietly speaks through instinct. I remember one time I was stopped at a red light and the light had turned green, but for some reason, unbeknownst to me, I hesitated to go. And I hesitated for about 10 seconds too long. And as soon as I got ready to go, a car comes flying through the intersection. They had ran their red light, and had I went and not waited those 10 extra seconds, I would have been T-boned by that car coming through the intersection. So these are kind of times where spirit is speaking through instinct, where we don't know that something may be happening or something might be about to happen that could really cause us harm. Um, there was another time that I recall with my dad, and this is my mom telling me what happened with them. They were on a road trip, and Spirit was speaking to my dad, gently nudging him to pull over because they had been driving for I don't know how long. And he wanted to get to the hotel that they were going to stay at. So he had been ignoring the call or ignoring the nudge to pull over. And suddenly his eyes started burning. They started burning so bad that he couldn't see out of them. And he had to pull over eventually, because the burning sensation was too much. I think it made his eyes start watering and he couldn't see. And so he had to pull over. And so he pulled over, got his eyes together, and when they got back on the road, they ended up passing a very bad car accident. And my mom tells me, had they kept going, they could have been the ones that were in that car accident. So sometimes when we don't understand why things are happening or we don't understand why we have these urges, we still need to trust spirit and listen to those urges, because we never know what spirit is trying to protect us from or what doors spirit is trying to open for us. In these instances, that's the holy place of the mind at work, where spirit moves through intuition and we learn to trust what doesn't yet have words. In the ancient tabernacle, the holy place was set apart. It was not fully hidden like the Holy of Holies, yet it wasn't exposed like the outer courts. It was the realm of the mind, the sacred chamber where perception becomes devotion. Inside were three sacred items. They were the golden lampstand, which is also known as the menorah, the table of showbread, and the altar of incense. Symbolically, the golden lampstand means illumination, divine mind, or inner wisdom. The table of showbread symbolizes memory, communion, mental nourishment. And the altar of incense symbolizes prayer, intuition, or sacred imagination. Each reflects the inner life of the mind. The lamp lights what the eyes cannot see. The bread feeds us with remembrance and meaning. The incense rises like thought, prayer, and dream, fleeting yet holy. The holy place was where the priest tended the lampstand, offered incense, and placed fresh bread on the table of presence. It was a daily act of devotion, a rhythm of remembering that kept the fire alive between humanity and divine. Your mind is the same space. Every thought you hold is a kind of incense. It either clears the air or it clouds it. Every focus of attention is like oil feeding the lamp of awareness. Every intention you bring into the day is an offering on the inner altar. When your mind drifts toward fear, the temple fills with smoke. When it returns to gratitude, the light becomes clear again. The mind can be both temple and trap. When unguarded, it fills with noise and confusion, old stories, ancient loops, and borrowed beliefs that crowd out the quiet flame of insight. But when tended with reverence, the mind becomes an altar of revelation, a space where intuition is remembered, where symbols speak, and understanding transforms into wisdom. You are both priest and the temple. You are the one who tends and the one who is being tended. The holy place is the realm of sacred perception. I once had a dream that showed me what this really means. In the dream, a woman was being tormented by spirits, not visible to everyone, but alive in her mind. We were standing outside my childhood church, and she was fighting them off with everything she had. Suddenly, I shouted, "Stop tormenting her." And for a moment, her face became clear. Then it suddenly faded away. Then, months later, I realized something that stopped me cold. The face that I saw was mine. That dream cracked open something in me. My mother had been diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic when I was a child. I learned at 9 years old, I think it was, that it could be hereditary. And ever since then, I had carried a quiet fear that one day I would become just like her. But that dream changed everything. It helped me to stop running from what I was afraid to see. It showed me that what I feared as sickness might actually be sensitivity, a deeper perception of the unseen. Now, what that story revealed was that I was dealing with the same issues that my mom had been dealing with. And what was seen as paranoid schizophrenia was something that I had to deal with and that I had to accept and overcome. So I began to understand that my mother's story and my own were not curses to escape, but callings to understand that maybe what the world names as madness, spirit might call ministry. Like the Levites at the gate of the holy place, we are called to serve with vigilance and discernment, tending the outer boundaries of awareness, keeping our inner altars prepared and seeing beyond what others might fear. That dream taught me that my mind itself can be holy ground if we approach it not with judgment, but with reverence. Your mind is not your enemy. It is the doorway of your temple. In harmony, it interprets spirit and filters experiences. Out of harmony, it distorts, fears, and controls. The invitation is not to silence the mind, but to sanctify it. And practices that purify the mental temple include silence and meditation, symbolic reading, which could be scripture, poetry, dreams, tarot, other divination, and even movies, creative imagination, intuitive listening, and honest reflection. To think is not to stray from spirit, it is to seek meaning through her. When we learn to honor the mind this way, thought becomes devotion, awareness becomes worship, and understanding becomes wisdom. In the holy place, the lamp was never to go out. It burned continually, tended by those who kept vigil before the veil. So too, your inner flame must be tended. Reflection, rest, renewal. This is how the light of awareness remains alive. Earlier, I shared a dream that first opened my eyes to the bridge world, how something deep within me knew truth before my mind could explain it. At that time, it felt confusing, even frightening, as if I had glimpsed something too vast to hold. But that dream was the beginning of understanding that my mind was not broken. It was awakening. There was a season when that awakening became overwhelming. My thoughts raced, my visions blurred the lines between worlds. Doctors would call it paranoid schizophrenia, but over time, spirit revealed something gentler, truer. It wasn't a curse. It was a lampstand burning too bright without enough oil to sustain it. When I began to tend that flame through stillness, prayer, grounding, and love, that fire that once threatened to consume me began to guide me. I learned that the difference between delusion and revelation isn't always what we see, it's how we hold it. Most of the great prophets burned the same way. Moses heard a voice from a bush that blazed but was not consumed. Ezekiel lay on his side for years and saw wheels within wheels. Isaiah walked naked as a sign to his people. Even now, Christians lift their hands to commune with an unseen presence and listen for the voice of a man who walked the earth 2,000 years ago. What is faith if not sacred imagination kept alive? What I once called madness, I now recognize as sensitivity, a mind porous enough to feel spirit move. The task was not to silence it, but to tend it, to trim the wick, add oil, and let it burn steadily again. So ask yourself, what lights my inner fire? What habits or distractions dim my connection? What thoughts must I place on the altar of my mind to be transformed? Let your mind be the garden where spirit grows stories. These questions are invitations, gateways that help you listen more deeply, to what the mind is holding and how it's serving. Where does my mind try to understand what my spirit already knows? What if revelation doesn't come from thinking harder, but from softening more deeply? When I speak to myself, is my voice a priest or a critic? Notice how inner dialogue can prepare or pollute the sacred space. Where have I confused clarity with control? The mind loves to understand everything, but understanding is not the same as surrender. When was the last time I allowed silence to be my teacher? Sometimes the holiest moment is when the lamp flickers and we simply wait in the glow. What stories or memories arise when I think of my mind as a holy place? Let them surface gently. They may reveal how you've honored or forgotten this sacred chamber. Here's a closing reflection that I'd like you to do until we meet again. This is the bridge practice. Close your eyes. Picture yourself within your sacred inner chamber, the holy place of your mind. A glowing lamp burns before you. A table is set with bread, warm with remembrance. Incense curls upward in soft spirals of light and fragrance. Whisper to yourself, I tend the flame. I remember the bread. I follow the incense. Stay here for a moment. Between thought and silence. Between worlds and within them. This is the bridge, the chamber of meaning and mystery, where mind becomes holy ground. Beloved one, as you rise from this reflection, may your thoughts remember the sacred rhythm within you. May your awareness tend the inner lamp, keeping the light of insight burning steadily. May your memories and intentions nourish your mind like the bread of presence. May your prayers, imagination, and dreams rise like incense, subtle, holy, and transformative. And when the world pulls your attention outward, may your mind become a sanctuary of stillness, a chamber of clarity, presence, and communion. Go now with your inner temple alive, your mind as holy ground, a bridge between worlds, a chamber of meaning and mystery. Walk gently, breathe deeply, listen closely. You carry within you the flame of spirit and the wisdom to keep it burning.